podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, December 20th, 2020. This is episode 1756. And next week, it'll be a best of podcast and then all new shows in 2021. So this is my last opportunity to say happy holidays, stay safe, stay warm, stay listening, and I'll see you next time. The Tech Guy podcast comes to you from TWiT's LastPass studios. Securing every access point in your company does not have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure, even when they're working remotely. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more. This episode of The Tech Guy is brought to you by Twilio. Strengthen your customer relationships by uniting communications across your entire business. Get everything you need to build and deliver a new customer experience with Twilio. Go to twilio.com to learn more. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography. We got smartphones, we got smart watches. We got SolarWinds hacks. It's a tech extravaganza. If you want to call in and talk high tech, I'm here for you. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Sam Abuelsamid's coming up, our car guy to talk automotive tech. Rod Pyle, our space guy, to talk about space flight. And of course, in the middle, the photo guy. But I'm trying to remember, is Chris here this week or is he taking the week off? I think he's here. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy in the middle. It's a Chris Marquardt sandwich. 8888 Ask Leo. Most importantly, you're the mayonnaise. Oh, that's not good. You know what I mean. You're the glue that holds it all together. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. The website, if you want to know more, is techguylabs.com. Everything we say, everything we talk about, all the links. James DeRuvo, our official scribe, puts up there. It's no charge. There's no sign up. It's wide open, techguylabs.com. And when you go there, you'll see each show highlighted. This is episode 1756, broken down into hours 1, 2, and 3. Each hour broken down into segments 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can drill down to the one you want. Even leave comments if you'd like. Even audio and video of the old shows. It's all there. techguylabs.com. It's not the first time we've had a supply chain attack. It's the worst one yet. I'm talking about the hack of the United States government, many cities, Austin, Texas, many state governments as well by the Russians. This attack, they so-called SolarWinds attack, you might say, well, golly, you'd think the Department of Energy, which is in charge of our nuclear arsenal, you'd think Department of Homeland Security, you'd think the Department of Treasury and Commerce would all have strong security. And, I'm sure they did. But this was a so-called supply chain hack, and it's a tough one to beat. The supply chain is the stuff, where you get your stuff, software and hardware. And unless you make everything yourself, and there's no one who does, you've got a supply chain. We've seen earlier supply chain hacks. There was, and this was a little controversial. Bloomberg reported that there was a supply chain hack of some motherboards from China from a company called Supermicro that had spyware on them, that these motherboards had infiltrated the Pentagon and elsewhere. But the Pentagon denied it. Everybody denied it. No one was able to prove it, so it all went away. Except what didn't go away is the warning that supply chain attacks are very hard to fight against. Because you get your stuff, your hardware, your software from other people. If other people's stuff gets hacked, it's hard for you not to get hacked, and that's what happened. Back in March, Russian hackers, they call them Fancy Bear. It's a cuddly name for a not-so-cuddly group. It's a government group, by the way. It's run by the Russian military. Were able to get into a company called SolarWinds that makes monitoring software for big enterprise systems and networks, government, big enterprises. And they modified the update to their Orion software. Now, this is actually quite clever. The code is trusted, and this is the point. Supply chain stuff is generally trusted. Microsoft talked a lot about how this hack happened. It was a DLL, a dynamic linked library in the Orion platform. If you use Windows, you're familiar with DLLs. This was updated. What's interesting is that the DLL had to do what it was supposed to do, what it was intended to do, plus there were 4,000 lines of code added in, 4,000 lines of code added in that put a back door in these government security industry and enterprise computers. 4,000 lines of code, not discovered, not revealed. The update was downloaded in March, and the compromised file, which, by the way, was digitally signed. Again, this is why this is so hard to fight. From all intents and purposes, it looked good. All of the normal checks and balances were in place. It looked okay. The problem is this SolarWinds Orion product is often whitelisted by security software because it is security software, and the security software says, okay, come on in, you're one of us, except there was secret Russian payload. It was able to run privileged actions and keep a low profile, and the hackers were good, really good. So they covered up every trace of their presence for months, which meant they could wander around on these networks, the DOE, the Treasury, the Commerce departments, Department of Homeland Security. They could wander around at will, undetected. And this is the problem. We don't know what they did while they were there. Sure, they probably snooped around, but they might have also left behind other payloads, other bad stuff. And these are such large networks, it's pretty hard to... You can't do what you would do at home, what I tell you to do at home, which is, oh my goodness, you got some malware on your system. Erase the drive, format the drive, restore Windows, reinstall Windows, and restore your data, because there's no other way to get rid of it. And you know what? If you had a government group against, going after you, a nation-state hacking group like Fancy Bear going after you, even that might not be enough, because there's places they can hide malware that you can't even erase. In the video card RAM, places like that. In the firmware. In your security software. Microsoft called it a poisoned code library. Oy. It's the Orion Improvement Business Layer. It was poisoned. What's interesting is the Orion Business Improvement Layer operated normally, and in parallel, the bad guy's code ran at the same time in the background invisibly. This is nasty. It's as bad as it gets, and it's not me saying that. It's some of the top security experts in the country saying this is as bad as a hack gets. Now, there's a question. Are we doing the same thing to the Russians? Yeah, probably, if we can, as best we can. Are the Chinese doing it to the Russians? Yeah. Are they doing it to us? Yeah. Are we doing it to them? Yeah. Everybody's doing it to everybody else. Yeah. But this is such a threat to the nation. And I'll give you a couple of scenarios. I don't want to scare anybody, and I'm not even going to say this is going to happen, but it's just this is the kind of threat. We don't know where this malware is or how widespread it is, and we may never know that, by the way. It's so deeply buried in there. It may just persist forever. It'll be like background noise. It'll be like cockroaches just infiltrating our systems. And here's things that if an adversary decided they really wanted to do us harm, there's some things they could do. They could, for instance, all of the financial markets these days, all of our stock markets. There's no trading floor in New York City at the Dow Jones. There's no magic place where, you know, you see it on TV, the traders are going, hey, sell, buy, wearing those red coats, buy, sell. That's the old days. Occasionally they'll stage, they'll put some people in there and pretend for TV, but it's all done on computers electronically in New Jersey. It's not done on that trading floor. That's the old days. It's all done on computers. It's all done electronically. If those computers were infected, our entire financial system could be vulnerable. Our nation's power grid could be vulnerable. And oh yes, Department of Energy runs the nuclear arsenal. Now I am sure, and I hope and I pray that the people who have access to nuclear weapons have, made sure that those systems are completely isolated. They're not, a lot of those systems, we've made fun of it, are running on really old computers. Yeah, that's good. So they don't use SolarWinds Orion. They're too old. They're isolated. That's good. You don't want the launch computers to be on the same network as these hacked computers. And I'm going to trust that they're not. So I don't think, and I think that's not what the Russians are trying to do. I'm not sure what the Russians are trying to do. I think at this point, it's not a matter of technology. It's not a matter of remediation. It's not a matter of us hacking them. It's now at the political level. It's at sanctions. It's at strongly worded phone calls. It's at that level. Because honestly, from a technical point of view, we're kind of out of luck. They're probably still in there, and even now, probably stealthily in putting malware in other places and payloads in other places so that they can't be removed. And in fact, even if we do find everything and remove it, a former NSA hacker, the founder of the security firm Rendition InfoSec, quoted in Wired, it's inherently so hard to address because supply chain attacks, these kinds of attacks, are ridiculously difficult to detect. It's like the attacker teleports in there out of nowhere. Oh, boy. The GAO on Tuesday released a report, one it sent around in October when we first kind of heard little background noise about this stuff. This is the name of the report, federal agencies need to take urgent action to manage supply chain risks. By this time, of course, the Russian assault had been active since March, so months the Russians have been in there. The agency found that none of the 23 government agencies it looked at had implemented all 7 fundamental best practices for cyber defense. In fact, a majority of agencies hadn't implemented any at all. They were wide open. It's not just the U.S. government. 18,000 customers downloaded this update. Even big security firms like FireEye. In fact, that's the first time we learned about it was when FireEye found out they were hacked. It's as bad as it gets. I don't know what the next step is. I really don't. But I guess it's good to know. And man, I hope we take some action about it. I don't know what it is. Wired again. The U.S. has options at its disposal, counterattacks, sanctions, or some combination of those, but the incentives for this sort of espionage, the kind the Russians just perpetrated on us, are too great. The barriers to entry are too low. We can blow up their home networks or show them how angry we are and rattle sabers, and that's all fine, said Jason Healy, a senior research scholar at Columbia University, but it's probably not going to influence their behavior long term. We need to figure out what we can do to make the defense better than the offense. We made it too easy, but it's very hard to keep them out entirely. I don't know. This is the new world we live in. And because everything we do is online, even our banking, even our stock trades, even our power grid, we are really dependent on this, and we are very vulnerable. That's bad news. Let's not talk about bad news. Let's talk about good news. 8888 Ask Leo. What you getting for the holidays? You want to buy a gift for a geek? I can make some suggestions. Let's talk high tech. 8888 Ask Leo. I have to remember, don't bring up depressing subjects this time of year. only good stuff. Oh my. It's a miracle. Every week she shows up. Doesn't matter. I try to break her, but I fail. Peanut butter cookies in the kitchen if you want some.
Yeah.
The unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yesterday there were cookies. Today there's cookies.
It's that time of year, and I'm really regretting it. I ate way too many cookies yesterday.
Those were good.
Well, then I came home, and there were cookies. Ashley in our continuity department sent me cookies, sent us cookies, and so I had some of those. And then Lisa said, you should make peanut butter cookies. And I said, I sure should. And then there were peanut butter cookies, and I don't know. I'm going to roll out of here, I swear.
January 4th.
I won't eat a thing for the month of January.
We'll just, once we, yeah.
Who should I talk to?
Let's go with Fred in Pasadena.
Maybe I can burn some calories with some
talking to him, jabbing your jaws.
With some brain work, yeah. Thank you, Kim. Hello, Fred. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Good morning. I have a question. With working remotely and being on Zoom a lot.
Oh, isn't it awful? It's so.
Oh man!
Thank goodness we can do it.
Option.
Yeah, thank goodness we can do it. But boy, after a while, there's a real thing: Zoom fatigue.
Definitely, and I think my situation is a little bit of a fatigue. I have an older HP laptop, about 5 years old. I recently, based on some of the suggestions you had made, updated to an HDD processor. I'm sorry, to an SSD processor, so it's working much quicker now. But my thing is, when I'm on Zoom, you know how they have the virtual background option. My laptop doesn't allow me to do that.
It's not your laptop; it's Zoom. Zoom will not allow virtual backgrounds unless you have a fast enough processor to do it.
Got it.
And so it's not unusual. There are a lot of different devices that won't do this, even just a few years old. I'm sorry. It's not just Zoom. Other programs also will do this. I guess it's a hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Zoom requires a processor with certain capabilities. And yours doesn't have it. I'm sorry. So you could get a new computer if you really cared that much.
Oh, wow. That's what I wanted to avoid. I was hoping that there was maybe a workaround, even like a bootleg setup.
I think there are workarounds, actually.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would look at, there's a really nice little program called
Oh, really? Like that? You have to make the eye roll?
You have to do the eye roll. It's, get this, mmhmm.app. And you can download it and try it. Let me see if they have it on the PC. Pretty sure they do. You can download it and try it. And it does the virtual background for you. And I think it might get around that. In other words, Zoom will just see it as a regular camera, which Zoom supports. In other words, doing the virtual background in a different program that maybe is less picky. If won't do it, then maybe the machine just really is too old. I'm sorry. Honestly, I tell people when they've got it on, turn it off. I hate it. But it does help if you haven't made your bed, right? 8888 Ask Leo. More to come right after this. Hey, our show today brought to you by our good friends at Twilio. It's time to build. And I'm not a massive geek, but I actually have had a Twilio account for a very long time. Twilio basically gives you access to all the power of the telecommunications network in your apps. It's really useful for any business that wants to communicate with customers, engage customers on any channel, anywhere that they are, however they want, from text messages to emails to phone calls and video, with one powerful platform. And I mean powerful. Twilio powers more than 795 billion interactions across channels with 5 nines of uptime, 99.999% uptime. They have over 3 billion phone numbers available across more than 100 countries. Twilio's big, and customers love Twilio. Just look at Shopify. They use Twilio. They do. They use it for their global contact center. That's more than 1 million customers. It's running on Twilio Flex, Twilio's programmable contact center solution. Blue Apron uses Twilio to power their newsletter. That's Twilio SendGrid. Netflix. You ever use two-factor on Netflix? Powered by, you got it, Twilio. In fact, if you use Authy, which is the authenticating program I recommend, that's Twilio too. Ride-sharing and contactless delivery services like Lyft and Uber connect riders and drivers using text messages. Your driver's on the way with Twilio, of course. Product and operations teams use Twilio to create new ways to communicate with their users inside applications, ranging from account notifications with text messaging to chatbots to securing online accounts with two-factor authentication. For marketing, for email, for contact centers, Twilio is a great solution. And you don't have to become a specialized telecom network engineer to use it. The beauty of Twilio, it's built by developers for developers. If your developers already are building web applications, if you know how to do a web application, you know everything you need to know to use Twilio. In just a few lines of code, you can build apps that text, call, chat, video conference. So strengthen your customer relationships, unite communications across your entire business. Go to Twilio.com to learn more today. Twilio. Twilio.com. If it's easy enough for me to use, your developers can for sure do it. Twilio, it's time to build. Thank you, Twilio, for supporting the Tech Guy Show. Really appreciate it. Happy holidays from Twilio. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, and it's time for Sam Abuelsamid, our automotive guru. He is a principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, the host of the Wheel Bearings podcast at wheelbearings.media, but the most important thing he is to me is my consigliere di automobile. Hello, Sam. How are you?
Hello, Leo. I'm doing great today. How about you?
The lid is off. The tape is off your mouth. The embargo is over. You can finally talk about the new electric, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, Mustang. The Mach-E.
Yes. And tomorrow you'll be able to see the video that Anthony has put together from a bunch of
we're going to do
that I sent him.
It's our hands-on tech episode. We do on my podcast network, we do reviews of new technology, and Sam very kindly gave us a review of the Mach-E, which will be at twit.tv/hot tomorrow morning. That's exciting. So, but you can give us a little preview right now on the radio.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I had the opportunity to drive over the past several weeks. Ford's been doing media drives with the Mach-E around the country. They've got a fleet of them. They've been taking around to various locations. We did one here in Michigan back in actually more like mid-November or just before Thanksgiving. And so I got the chance to spend a couple hours driving it, and
that's nice.
It's really, really good. I was very impressed with it. When they announced it last year and called it a Mustang, a lot of people were very concerned about, branding this thing as a Mustang. And it's not like any traditional Mustang that's been built over the last 57 years. But it's really good, and in a lot of ways it kind of fits the DNA of Mustang. It feels very sporty to drive. The way they did the design, when you're sitting in it, you're obviously sitting a little higher than you do in a classic Mustang, but it's also got that kind of long hood, and you're looking out over the hood. It's kind of like looking out over the hood of a traditional Mustang, except that there's no rumbling V8 under there. Under that hood is the front trunk, or the frunk as some people like to call it, which is, there's a whole bunch of storage space under there. It's big enough under there to actually hold a big full-size cooler, although you can actually use it without a cooler, just fill the thing with ice. For a tailgate party, you can fill it with ice and fill it with food and drinks. And there's actually a drain, a one-way valve drain at the bottom of it. So as your ice melts, the water will just drain out of it. Or when you're going to the beach, you can throw your wet gear in there and keep it separated. And then there's lots of cargo space in the back as well. It's the first Mustang that actually has real seating for 5 people. I sat in the back while we were getting a briefing on the interior and the infotainment system, and it was very comfortable. And well, you and I sat in the back of one at CES this year.
100 years ago
actually,
in January.
Yeah, actually, Ant and I sat in the back. You were sitting up front with Darren Palmer,
Yeah, that was fun.
The director.
Yeah.
But on the road, it's very comfortable to drive. It's quick. It's not the versions that they have now. The launch versions. They have there's a base model, and then there's a little more powerful models like the first edition that you ordered. It'll do 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds. So it's not quite as quick as a Tesla Model Y Performance, but it's about the same size as the Model Y. Actually, the way they've configured the interior, it's actually got a little more, especially backseat headroom. It's a little more comfortable than the Model Y. But in a lot of ways, Ford has done a lot of things very similar to Tesla. You've got this big 15-inch screen in the middle with a completely new interface for the infotainment system, which is really interesting the way it works. And anybody who's listened to Wheel Bearings, my podcast, knows that I am not a fan of touchscreens in cars, but
they seem dangerous because you want to, spend a lot of time fiddling with it.
Yeah, well, this one the way they designed the interface, I think this is probably the best UI I've seen for a touchscreen in a car yet.
It's a big one, kind of like the Tesla, Model X or Model S, the old Teslas, but it has a knob at the bottom, which is a physical knob.
Yeah, so there's a physical volume knob, and the way they implemented that is quite interesting. Rather than actually have a pass-through hole through the screen for the wiring for a traditional knob, what this knob is actually there's a capacitive surface on the back, and it's literally just glued to the glass.
It's got little fingers underneath the knob that are touching the screen.
Yeah, that's essentially it. Yeah, it's basically, if you didn't have the knob on there, you could turn your finger on that same surface and adjust the volume.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but the knob makes sense because I like physical buttons for some things. Volume's a really good example where it's just the easiest way to set the volume is to turn a knob.
Right, and also for things like the wipers, the wiper controls, and the cruise control is right on the steering wheel. So it drives really well. It's got great visibility. It's comfortable.
You sent me an email. You said I can't tell you anything because you were still under embargo a couple of weeks ago, but you're going to. And you used a strong expletive, love it. So what is it about it that I will love?
I think you'll find it really comfortable to sit in, but also really easy to drive. It handles surprisingly well.
Not like a Mustang. How much like a Mustang is it? I used to have an old Mustang, I think it was a 2009 or 2010 Mustang GT 5.0. And I really loved that. But how much is it like that? It's not really, right?
Yeah, so they tried to infuse it with some of that character of a Mustang. So, the base models are rear-wheel drive, and there's also all-wheel drive, which is what you're getting. But, it does things with a traditional Mustang, if you're going into a corner and you lift off the accelerator a little bit and you get some of that weight transfer onto the front wheels, you can get the back end to come around a little bit, get some oversteer.
That's the thing I hated about the Mustang, but it is a traditional Mustang feature.
It does it.
It fishtails,
but it does it in a very controlled way.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it's
first time that happened to me in my old Mustang, I went, "What the?" And then somebody said, "No, it's supposed to do that. That's what it's supposed to do."
It won't snap around on you.
Right.
But when you're driving, if you take it out for a drive in Western Marin on some of those curving roads out there, if you find it understeering a little bit, like it wants to push out through the corner, if you just back off the accelerator a little bit, it'll tuck right in.
Oh, nice.
And it feels really good. It's very easy to control.
It's also got a recording. It's got a recording of kind of like a Mustang sound, right?
Yeah, so they created, because it's electric, it obviously doesn't have that rumbling V8
it's
sound.
Just a whine.
But they created unique synthetic sounds that, they're clearly, it's not an internal combustion engine, but they wanted it to feel like a Mustang. So depending on which drive mode you're in, there's 3 drive modes. There's Whisper, Engage, and Unbridled. And Unbridled, it's got a little bit of that rumble.
Oh,
so
wow.
it feels authentic to what it is. but still feels like a Mustang. It's really interesting, and hopefully Anthony includes some of those sound clips in the video so you get an idea of what it sounds like inside.
TWiT.tv/hot for Sam's full review of the Mustang Mach-E. Edmund said it's the best luxury EV of the year. You think that was worthy? It earned that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I'd necessarily classify it as a luxury EV, but it's certainly probably one of the best new EVs. It's my new favorite EV of what I've driven so far. Yeah.
Wow, that's high praise because I know you've driven them all.
Yeah, and I liked the Jaguar I-Pace a lot. I like the driving experience of the I-Pace. I like this better. I think they've done a better job on the interior. And I love the way it looks.
The 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E. They're starting to ship the earliest editions, the first editions now, and more will be coming in 2021. Sam's review, twit.tv/hot. Sam's Wheel Bearings podcast is at wheelbearings.media, and he joins us every week. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Leo.
Somebody said they should have a little faux exhaust coming out the back. Well, we'll see. I don't know what's going on, but I'll just keep paying. What I should do is I'll call the dealer tomorrow. You don't have to do anything. It's all right. It's not.
Yeah.
I'll call the dealer tomorrow and see what they say.
Yeah, they should be able to sort it out.
Yeah. I mean, I know it has to come all the way up from Mexico. I understand.
Yeah. I'm dropping a link in the chat right now to the written review I did for Debugger.
Oh, good.
For
I'll mention
Megan.
that also. Oh, you did that for Megan. That's right. That's nice.
Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of stuff for on 1.0 and Debugger this year.
She does Debugger as well?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of an offshoot of 1.0.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they haven't done product reviews on there before. This is kind of one of the first ones they did on there. And I sent her the draft and she liked it. And
good.
So.
And they pay you, right?
Yeah, they do.
Do they pay decently?
Yeah, not bad at all.
Good.
I mean, it's not as bad as some of the traditional freelance work, but
it's not $1 a word or $2 a word, but I'm sure.
No,
but
it's enough. It's enough to justify the time. It gives me another place to publish stuff.
Nice. All right. Well, maybe with any luck, I won't see you next week. Remember, we're taking the week off.
Okay, so you're doing reruns next week?
Reruns next week, but I'll see you January 3rd.
All righty.
I'll either be driving my new Mustang Mach-E or something else.
You can stream set up a camera and stream over the LTE connection from the Mach-E.
We had hoped that I would get it to accompany your review, but that's fine. I'm glad we got your review, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you, Sam.
All right. See you
Have
later,
a great Christmas. Merry Christmas.
You too.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Bye, my friend. Take care. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's go to Burbank, California. Adam is next on the line. Hi, Adam.
Hi, I just cut you off.
Welcome.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
I have an old Mitsubishi HD TV from like the early 2000s, and I love it.
Wow, it's a classic. What's the technology? Is it a projector?
Yeah, it's a rear. It's like projector.
Yeah, it's one of those old Diamond Visions. Yeah.
Years, I gotta take it all apart and blow the dust out of it because the contrast gets reduced.
Is it one of the old ones that had the 3 lenses, red, green?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow, that's a classic.
And I'm actually thinking of getting a silent fan to make a negative or a positive pressure in there through a filter so the thing doesn't get all dusty. But I love the image that it gives me. I mean, that TV cost me more than I want to admit.
I know. That's what you really love. You're still feeling the pain from buying it.
Well, no, it's not just that. It gives a very even though it's just like a 1080, it gives a very cinematic picture. I mean, so here's my issue. I love over-the-air digital TV.
Right.
I think it's way better than basic cable. I get like 8 PBS channels.
Yep.
I get, local, all that stuff. But my problem is, what I want is a over-the-air converter that will output component video to my Mitsubishi. And I've bought several of these boxes over the years. They typically cost $50. They're obviously all using the same chip.
Yep.
They never work very good, and within 7 or 8 months, they burn out.
So your Mitsubishi has the CMYK, the 4 red, green, blue, and yellow plugs going into it?
Yeah.
That's the component video.
Component.
Yep.
And so, these little converter boxes, the granny boxes they used to call them, I'm able to get them, but they burn out. I would pay... Instead of $50, I want to pay $200. I would pay $300 for an over-the-air TV box that will output component video and not burn out every 8 months.
Yeah. Interesting conundrum. Part of the problem, let's see, is, of course, that this is somewhat antiquated technology. That's part of the problem. Go ahead.
They all seem to be based off the same old-ass chip.
Yep. I'm wondering...
There's no Cadillac that you can buy that will do this.
Well, there are a couple of companies that make OTA DVRs, and I don't know if they have component out. There's HD Home Runs from Silicon Dust, and there's the Channel Master. And both of these are companies that specialize in... So what you need for over-the-air is you need a tuner. It has to be a digital tuner, obviously, these days. And the tuner, you in particular need a tuner that has component out, which is kind of old-fashioned. Almost everybody's doing digital these days. But I would look and see if the Channel Master or Silicon Dust has any of their OTA devices have component out.
Home Runs or Channel Master? Yeah,
Channel Master is at channelmaster.com. And what these companies really do is they make DVR. I mean, their business really is an over-the-air DVR, kind of like the TiVo used to be. But they have tuners in them. They often have multiple tuners in them, so you can have multiple channels. But the question is, and I don't know off the top of my head, I'm looking on the website, I don't see if they support component out. So that's Channel Master. The other one is Silicon Dust, and they make OTA devices. They call them HD Home Runs. Both the HD Home Run has an interest. Go ahead,
Leo. The other thing is that it could be probably HDMI, because I do believe they make devices that convert.
You can convert it.
HDMI,
yeah, you can convert it.
Component video.
You can convert it. The real use for the Channel Master. Go ahead.
How does that comport with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act? I don't know.
Well, your component's not protected either, right? So HDCP requires HDMI, but you're only playing over the air. You're not playing anything else, right? You just want an over-the-air tuner. Yeah, I just want to. I want to watch. PBS. I get like 8 PBS channels on this thing. Yeah. Over the air. I get a live NFL football. You might be better off getting a HDMI, digital video to component converter. Those are $150. They're not cheap because they're doing a digital to analog conversion internally, so they have to have some circuitry. But you might get one of those. Then the world is your oyster. There's lots of HDMI TV tuners out there, lots of choices. That might be ultimately
for over the air.
Yeah, that might ultimately be your best bet. One of the things that they do with the HD Home Run that might be of an advantage to you is that they also can put that video on the network over Ethernet, so you can watch anywhere in the house using a HD Home Run software on your Roku, your Apple TV, and so forth. It becomes a TV tuner for you. So
I'm like Fred Flintstone.
I got it. You got an old Diamond Vision 3 lens projector. Those are the kind. Does it have a big curvy plastic thing that aims at the projection screen? It's not that old, is it?
Oh, yeah, there's lenses in there, and I have to dust them off, otherwise the contrast goes down.
You used to see them in bars all the time. Does it have a built-in screen that's curved? No, it's not that old.
No, it's flat. It's flat in the front, and it has actually. I I had a Pioneer receiver that processed 7.1, and it burned out. And I'm a Pioneer lover. I use Pioneer for my car stereo, my homes for years. But the thing is, it has really good speakers. I mean,
it would literally be cheaper for you to buy a new TV than it would be to buy this HDMI to component converter.
But I love this TV,
But I got it. You love it. You love how it looks. You want to keep
the cinematic image.
I understand. Yeah, no. Look, if you love it, it's yours. I'm not in any way knocking that. Obviously, price is no object to keep this vintage technology going. So I would say you'll get a converter box. That's probably going to be the easiest thing. But I would at least check out. I have to look at these Channel Master, and Channel Master might be your best bet, because they seem like they support the old school type. I wouldn't be surprised if they had component out. It's not a big deal to do component out. You might also, I wonder if you got maybe a AV receiver, but no, you really just need a TV tuner with component out. 1080. Anybody in the chat room can help. That's great. 1080p TV tuner, OTA, over the air TV tuner. We get oddball requests from time to time like this. Over the air TV tuner with component video out. Those are those coax outputs. There's 4 of them, CMYK. And the good news is Channel Master is a better quality company. They stand behind their stuff. I bet you they have something like that. We'll also put a link in the show notes. Thank you, Kilotech, in our chat room, to multifunctional converter, live 1080p recording, playback, DP. eBay may be your best friend on this. Yeah. Wow. 80. I love it. 8888 Ask Leo. Maybe we should get him a turntable too, or an 8-track. An 8-track too to go with the TV. If you like how it looks though, right? You don't want to change. I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We got your smartphones. We got your smart watches. We got all of that techno jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Coming up in just a little bit, Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. But let's continue on with your calls, starting with Vernon in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Hello, Vernon.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very well. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, thank you. Welcome. Happy holidays.
Thank you so much. So, Leo, I'm a designer part-time, and I've currently got a 2017 MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I'm thinking about upgrading to the new M1.
Woohoo!
Something I never thought I'd hear myself say.
Yeah, because 2017 isn't that old.
Right.
Why are you thinking of upgrading? What is it? What do you need? What are you looking for?
Well, my MacBook Pro obviously is a laptop.
Yep.
And I take that with me a lot of places. Right now, it's just sitting in a dock, which isn't ideal. So I want to.
Oh, you want a desktop?
I do.
Yeah, so I would definitely wait. I wouldn't buy at this point any Intel Macs unless you're, desperately in need.
Right.
If you got work to do and you don't have anything, your Mac broke down. Yeah, well, that makes sense. To buy an Intel Mac. Or what programs do you use? Because that's important too.
Yeah, I primarily the Adobe suite, so okay. Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. But I'm thinking about the M1 chip, and I've heard that's quite efficient with those programs.
Well, it's best when it's running natively, which Photoshop is in beta native, and Lightroom is in, I think it's released native. But some of those other programs like InDesign and Illustrator are not yet available in native. So they'll be running in Intel mode under an emulator called Rosetta 2, which, in some cases, I don't know about those programs in particular, but in some cases, that's faster than Intel, believe it or not, in some cases. Mm-hmm. Might be faster than your 2017 Intel Mac for sure. But I think Adobe is pretty much committed to upgrading. So my recommendation, if you can handle it, unless you're trying to spend the rest of your income for tax reasons before the end of the year, I would say wait till spring. Because in spring, I think Apple is going to, look, next year they're going to be a bevy of Macs based on the new chips. And not just the M1, but I suspect we'll see an M1X or an M2. We'll see even more powerful chips. And I'll tell you why. And this will make sense to you for a desktop. Right now, all of the M1 Macs, there's 3 of them, a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro 13-inch, and a Mac Mini, are limited to 16 gigs of RAM. For you, that's not good.
Okay.
That's not good. They also only have 2 Thunderbolt ports. For you, that may or may not be good depending on how you feel about dongles. You're already using a dock, so maybe that doesn't bother you. But I think you would want more RAM.
Sorry to cut you off there.
That's okay.
Is my understanding that this new M1 chip, the RAM, is really insignificant? Am I wrong?
It's less significant, but it's not insignificant. So what Apple's doing is something actually video console makers like Microsoft and Sony did some years ago. They're doing something called a unified memory architecture. The memory is not sitting out there in the cold, chilly spaces of the vast motherboard, but actually is on the chip where the processor is, which means accesses are much faster. It also, remember, Apple has an advantage because now they're designing the operating system and the processor, so they can optimize and perhaps use less RAM than maybe an Intel architecture might have used. Still, 16 gigs, as you probably know, is low for some of the things you might be doing in Photoshop or InDesign.
Yeah, I've got 64 on my
Exactly.
My
so that's another reason to wait. So there's really 2 reasons to wait. One, new hardware, desktop hardware, almost certainly coming out, I would say by spring, but no doubt by June. Secondarily, Adobe by then should have all of its stuff ported over, which means it'll run better anyway.
Fair enough.
So if I were you, again, I have no magic powers. Apple doesn't tell me anything. It's all, it's crystal balling here. But my guess is that Apple's going to be pretty aggressive over the next year in updating all of its hardware. So everything, the iMac, the Mac, even the Mac Pro, I think that'll be the last one. That might be early 2022. But certainly all of the other Macs will be updated to the new Apple Silicon. And I think what's going to be really interesting is these first 3, they were just kind of like, we can do this. The next generation is going to be more like, they're going to go right. They're going to say, well, now watch me, hold my beer, and they're going to go crazy. So I suspect you're going to see, once they get to desktops, for instance, I would like to see, and I bet they will do an iMac Pro, which is probably what you'd want, finances permitting, with 64 gigs of RAM and, all the connecting ports that the current iMac Pro has, and an M2 chip. We've seen already rumors that the current M1 chip has 8 cores, 8 CPU cores, 4 performance, 4 efficiency, and 8 GPU cores, double or triple or quadruple that in the next generation. And now we're starting, these are going to be machines where you will, the Intel machines will look like they were in the dark ages. I mean, I think they're going to be significantly more powerful. So can you wait?
I can wait.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard.
Yeah, I kind of have shiny object syndrome. So as soon as something new and great
believe me, I didn't wait. But see, I also, when they announced it in June of this year, I said, that's it. I'm not buying any more Intel anything, PCs or Macs, because I have a feeling what we're going to see from Apple is going to be a game changer. And so far, it really does look that way.
Sure.
But we haven't begun to see how much of a game changer. That's going to start happening next year. So for you, you're a pro. This is a tool you use as a professional. You could get a Mac Mini right now. They're not expensive, $700 or $800. Get the M1. Photoshop you'd be able to use natively. You'd get at least some idea of what you're going to expect. But again, only 16 gigs of RAM. I don't care how much more efficient it is. That's not going to be as good as 64 gigs of RAM for you.
Fair enough. Yep. Could I ask one more quick question?
Sure.
Thinking about investing in a NAS. Can you make a quick recommendation on something that's affordable and relatively user friendly?
Usually, NAS and affordable doesn't go together because, first of all, a NAS is a computer, but it just doesn't have a keyboard, screen, or monitor. It's got many drive bays, multiple drive bays, so you can have a lot of storage, and you put it on the network. That's what it means, network-attached storage. Right. But really, it's a Linux box, in effect. So the cheapest way to do this would be get some old some old PC, and put free NAS on it, which is an open-source Linux version for NASs, and then populate it with some old cruddy drives. That might not be the best experience, but it'd be the cheapest experience. I'm a fan of Synology, Synology. Okay. They make Synologies in everything from 2 to, I think, 32 drive bays. I wouldn't get 2. 2 is going to be the least expensive because remember, you have to buy the enclosure and then the drives.
Right.
Price out a 5-bay Synology. That's what I use. And just say, for now, I'll put in smaller drives to save some money, and then down the road put in bigger drives. But you will love the software. The new DSM-4, the 4th version of this, is about to come out. I think you will be very impressed with what it can do, not just for backup, but for a lot of things. It's really having a fairly powerful server in your house with tons of storage, and there's all sorts of things you can do with that. So I'm a big fan of the Synology brand. That's my favorite.
Perfect. I appreciate that, Leo.
All right, my pleasure. Take care.
Have a wonderful day.
Happy holidays. Is it snowing in Alberta?
Yeah, I'm under about 3 feet of snow right now.
And that's not going to melt till spring, right?
Yeah, no, it's just going to continue to accumulate.
That sounds wonderful, actually. I wouldn't mind that. Have a wonderful holiday.
I think in theory it's better.
In theory than in practice. It's the kind of thing you'd like to visit. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
And then go home to sunny California. Hey, a pleasure talking to you. Take care, Vernon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.
Mele Kalikimaka, everyone. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kim on the line from Mission Viejo, California. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Leo. I had a question about security, wondering if Android cell phones could be hacked with malware via clicking on links or downloading text.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure, you betcha. So
how do you get rid of that?
So it's a little harder to get it from just clicking on links. Okay. The way to avoid it is to make sure that your Android phone is kept up to date. Google releases every month, just like Microsoft, a security patch. And if you're using a Google phone or one of the companies that really attempts to keep up with Google's patches, you should be able to look at your phone right now. If you go into settings and you go down to the bottom where it says, I think it says system, and then look at updates, you should see there what the most recent update you have is. And mine, because it's a Pixel phone, is December 5th. But you ideally you'd have Android version 10 or 11. Those 11's the most recent, but most phones aren't 10 are 10 still. And you'd have the Android security update from December. If it goes, a couple of months, okay. If you have like last spring's security update, then your phone is a little bit vulnerable. The most common way people get bit on Android phones is not drive-bys, what you just described, which is you go to a website and you click a link and it gets something. Most commonly what they do is they download something from the Play Store. Something like 70 or 80% of all the infections are malware that's actually on the Google Play Store. When Google finds these, they kill them, but the problem is they get on there and, it takes a while for Google, and sometimes hundreds of thousands of people download these. Your best bet, besides keeping your phone as up-to-date as possible, is to only download apps for your phone that are well-known from well-known companies. Don't get Russian malware wallpaper app. Not good.
What about text messages, like people that I know, like, for instance, a person that might be an old boyfriend?
Yeah. So I get these calls a lot, and it's horrible, and I feel so bad for you. But it is not unusual for an ex to be malicious, right? And you're wondering what he can do. he can't just if you don't click a link in the text itself is not going to be harmful.
No, I did click the link.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
So do I factory data reset the phone?
Yeah.
Would that help?
Yes, that would get rid of it.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and you already have everything backed up. If you don't go into the settings and make sure Google's backing up, and then you say back up now, and then do a factory data reset, that will wipe it off completely.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, Kim. This happens way too often.
Yeah,
I just
it was
apologize.
Too many questions that seemed like, very specific.
So a text by itself can't hurt you. Occasionally, there have been, both on Apple and Android, malformed texts with weird characters in foreign languages that can crash your phone. But as far as I know, there's never been a text that could hack your phone. But clicking links can always be risky. What happened when you clicked that link?
Well, the person seemed to know, when I went on to go look at the balance on my bank account and stuff, and refresh. Refresh the phone, reset it.
Things. Yeah, if they know things, that's not good. They're also, what could be attached to that link, for instance, is a Trojan horse that could sit on your phone and monitor what you're doing. Good idea at this point. If you think somebody's doing that, to reset the phone, factory reset will wipe anything that's on there off. But you will also obviously want to go in and change your bank account passwords. At this time, this would be a very good time to turn on two-factor. You can see right now why two-factor that uses a text message may not be the most secure option, right? Because if somebody's on your phone, they're seeing your text messages too. So turn on two-factor. You know what that is. You have to enter your password to log into your bank account. But then you also have to enter in a code. Usually that code comes from an authenticator app running in your phone. That usually is not visible to a bad guy, but it could be. Unfortunately, most banks, because they realize that if they make this too hard, their customers will get confused and it will cost them money in tech support calls. Most banks still use, even my bank, it really depresses me, SMS text messages to confirm that it's you. And you can see right now why that's a problem. There are other things people can do to you, like SIM hijacking, where they get your phone number, and those text messages are not additional security, unfortunately. But if Facebook, your bank account, Amazon, whatever you can use two-factor on, do. And if you can, don't use text message-based two-factor. Use one that uses an authenticator program. That'll give you a little bit more security. Apparently somebody in the chat room saying Wells Fargo now uses push notifications. That's by far better than sending you a text message. By far. I think we were talking earlier about the SolarWinds hack, the hack that we think it's Russia. The Secretary of State said it's Russia anyway. This hack that Russia perpetrated on the Department of Energy, the Department of Treasury, the Department of Commerce, local towns like Austin, Texas, all 18,000 other users of this SolarWinds software. And as bad as this is, and it's bad, because they can't do a factory reset of their entire network. There's no way they can do what you can easily do on your phone, which is wipe out whatever he's done to your phone. But I am hopeful that this will raise awareness and raise security consciousness among everybody. And banks especially, they shouldn't be using SMS. They should do what Wells Fargo has done, use push notifications. We've got to improve our security. The Russians waltzed in March. And in fact, it was an accident that we discovered what they were doing. There were rumbles about it in October. We ignored it. When I say we, the U.S. government ignored it. Fortunately, the Russians hacked a security firm, FireEye, and FireEye discovered it 2 weeks ago, and then the alarms went up, and everybody found out, oh, we've been hacked too. So this is as bad as it can get. The Russians are essentially like cockroaches, have invaded every corner of our government. And just like cockroaches, it isn't going to be easy to get rid of them. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk photography. Chris Marquardt coming up next. It's time for our photo guy, Chris Marquardt. He is a professional photographer. He's also my photo sensei at sensei.photo, SENSEI.photo. That's where he does coaching. He's also a ninja. So I don't know what it is about Japanese characters, but you seem to like those a little bit, Chris Marquardt. We're talking about OBS Ninja. He's become an expert in that too at OBS. Is it obsacademy.com?
It's obsacademy.com, yes. And I don't really look like a ninja right now, more like a tovarish.
We're wearing our Russian caps because it's so cold.
Yeah.
Is it snowing in Germany right now?
Not really, no.
Well, that's good. But you're ready.
Maybe somewhere far in the south.
You'll be ready. You'll be ready for it. So Chris joins us every week to talk about photography, particularly about getting better pictures with whether it's your professional camera or just your smartphone. And you've been doing a great job going through various kind of techniques and skills one by one. What are we going to do today, Chris?
Well, it's another facet of photography that many have seen with, well, first of all, either getting a bigger sensor, getting a bigger camera, or getting a smartphone with what's called the portrait mode, and that is bokeh. That is the out of focus behind whatever is in focus.
You and your Japanese words. Now, what is this one? B-O-K-E-H when it's anglicized.
I didn't come up with that one. It's the term for the out of focus part behind your subject. And again, with a bigger sensor, you get this. With smartphones, with portrait mode, you can get this more of a computational variety, but still looks good. And bokeh is Japanese. I think it means not very sharp in both meanings.
Yeah.
In both meanings of the word.
Good. So dumb and out of focus.
Sort of, yes, sort of.
So there is a debate amongst photographers on how to pronounce it. Some say bokeh, some say bokeh, and actually the Japanese is somewhere in between a little bit. It's bokeh. So
somewhere there.
Yeah,
yes.
somewhere. So, but you understand when you hear a photographer talk about bokeh or bokeh. They're talking about, and that's, you know what, people have seen it. Maybe they're not aware of it, but if you get a professional portrait done, your face will be, crisp and clear and fully in focus, but your background might be in a softer focus. And that's often what we consider, that's a pro. That's a pro look.
Yeah, and today I want to talk a bit about this. Well, first of all, what do we need bokeh for? And of course, it helps you get more focus onto what is important in the photo. So if you throw the background out of focus, that means your focus and the attention of the viewer will be on what is in focus. So
that's why it's
one
good
thing. The other thing
for portraits, right? You're the focus. Yeah.
Yes, of course. The other thing is just to set a mood, maybe, especially if you're looking at Christmas photos, for example, with the lights in the background out of focus. That is a mood setter. It can be as simple as decoration. And another thing that it helps with is if you have a really busy background that distracts from your subject, you can use it to disguise a busy background.
Yeah.
And bokeh has a few qualities to it. You just showed a picture with pretty harsh bokeh with very hard edges, the one before that. And the other one that that showed is one with bokeh with very soft edges. And that's because of how the lenses are designed. There's different kinds of lenses, and usually the bokeh with the softer edges is a bit more desirable by photographers. So
it's so funny. I mean, nowadays the waters have been muddied. The bokeh has gone out of focus because with computational photography and portrait mode, we see it now in a lot of pictures. It's no longer an indicator, this person's using a fancy camera. But in the old days, not really. It was about how many blades your shutter had and the shape of the blades and all sorts of weird.
Exactly. The aperture shape, they might be a pentagon shape or a hexagon shape. The most pleasing bokeh you tend to get with a round, round aperture, which you do have in a lens. Yeah. And that is when the lens is wide open. Yeah. When you do not have the aperture closed, then it's typically round. And that is when it usually looks the nicest, even with a cheap lens.
So in portrait photography or in professional photography, you get this effect by opening up the aperture wide as you can, or wider. The wider it is, the shallower the depth of field. So your background will be out of focus, your foreground will be in focus, and then of course the kind of aperture and the kind of blades in your shutter.
And you do find this in the smartphones as well. If you shoot with the portrait mode on, and then you can change that out of focus, that bokeh later on, and it's often a slider that says aperture, and if you slide this toward a smaller number on that side of the scale, then you end up having more out of focus.
Yeah.
So the bokeh can be busy, can be not busy. The photo you're just looking at, there's lots of bright, different colored lights in the background, which can be a bit distracting, but unless that's the effect you're looking for.
Yeah, so it's a young woman looking at probably at Christmas lights, but they're out of focus. So all we see is kind of blurry lights, and she's only part of the frame. I'm not crazy about this. I guess what the point is, she's looking at these dreamy Christmas lights in the distance.
Probably.
Yeah.
And then there's different types of lens designs that, well, this is one where the bokeh is very, what we call that, a swirly bokeh.
Yeah.
And that you often see when you have older lens designs, like this one is probably from a Petzval lens, which is a very old lens design that has become popular again. So you can buy lenses that do that.
Prize these oddball effects. And of course, you get one of these lenses, really, you got it for this particular type of photo, for a particular look.
Yeah, I don't have one of those because that I would only use that a couple times a year.
Yeah, how often would you use it?
Probably not. An interesting kind of bokeh is in the next photo, and that is donut-shaped bokeh.
Yeah,
and that happens.
It's like smoke rings.
That happens. Well, yes, because that happens because the photographer was using a mirror lens. There are long focal lengths. There are telephoto lenses that work like telescopes. They don't do lenses. They have mirrors that throw around the light, and they often have this round donut-shaped bokeh. But the nicest bokeh, and especially now around at the time when we have all these tiny little Christmas lights, is bokeh that you shape yourself.
What?
You can do this.
Oh, these are heart-shaped. How do you do that?
Heart-shaped.
Yeah.
Or on the last picture, they are even star-shaped.
Star-shaped.
It's an easy project. It's a very easy project. Take a piece of black paper and cut a little shape in it and hold it in front of the camera while shooting out of focus Christmas lights. And the bokeh in the photo will take on that shape.
What?
It's that easy.
What? Now, so we're looking at a little snowman in front of a Christmas tree that has stars, little twinkly stars. That's the bokeh in it. Did they take two pictures, one of the snowman and one of the lights? Or no?
No, the focus is on the snowman, so the background is out of focus. And by cutting out a little star shape and holding it in front of the lens, in the center of the lens, the bokeh becomes the star shape.
Oh, I have to try that. So you could do any kind of shape you want, right?
Or hearts, stars, little birds, whatever you want.
Oh, how fun. That might be a good way to take the picture of the month. Our assignment this month is ugly. Cut out an ugly shape and put it behind somebody. I don't know what ugly means, but it's your assignment. That means you have a couple more weeks to take pictures that illustrate the concept or idea of ugly. Upload it to Flickr, our photo sharing site. It's free, flickr.com. And then submit it to the Tech Guy group. Make sure you tag it with TG Ugly so Renee Silverman, our moderator, knows it's your submission for our assignment. And Chris will review them in a couple of weeks. No show next week because of the holidays, Chris. Actually, there'll be a show, but you won't have to show up for it. We'll have a best of Chris Marquardt. And then I will see you in the new year. Maybe we can do our review then.
Oh, that would be perfect.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Chris. Have a wonderful holiday. And we'll see you in 2021. Thank God. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I could cut out the TWiT logo and do it? That'd be kind of interesting.
You have to hold it upside down, otherwise it won't work. It will be upside down.
Okay, I'll have to try that.
The TWiT logo might be a bit too complicated. Well, it should work. It should work. I have not tried it with portrait mode.
See, I bet it wouldn't, because I know it wouldn't, because they're not doing anything optical.
Not sure.
Unless they're super smart. Maybe they're like, we could fake it. Let's fake
No,
it.
I think they won't do anything because they have predefined aperture sizes and shapes in there.
Yeah.
They have that built in, and with some of the apps like Focus, for example, you can tell it what aperture shape you want to use for its calculations.
Oh, that's fun. I'll have to try that out.
Maybe you can upload a PNG or something in that one. I should try that.
With the TWiT logo. That'd be hysterical, wouldn't it? We've already sent out our Christmas cards, so.
But you need point light sources, otherwise it won't work.
Right. Christmas lights are perfect. So no show next Sunday, and then I'll see you January 3rd.
Get that in the calendar and see you on the 3rd.
Have a wonderful Christmas. I had to think about it for a second. And New Year. You have anything planned? Right. It's just going to be the two of you, or?
It's the two of us. It's being in the viewfinder villa and doing what we are good at, doing
hunkering down.
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm very good at that too. You know, I find Lisa's getting a little antsy, but I find I'm very comfortable just sitting around watching TV.
Yeah.
Eating cookies.
Watching TV.
Drinking eggnog.
Doom scrolling Twitter.
Doom scrolling. Yeah. Oh, we're almost out of 20. Yeah, I would, I would worry because you're in Europe. You got to watch out for those Brits. They're going to bring you the new version.
Oh, the new strain.
Louise.
Oh, yes.
Jeez,
well,
Louise.
there's not too much research on that yet. So
no, we don't know if it's more.
I'm waiting for the scientists.
We don't know if it's more deadly. It just spreads easier.
It's probably not. From what I heard, it's just up to 70% more transmissible.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll see.
All right. Have a good one. Happy holidays, Chris.
Yeah, you too. Be safe.
All right. Take care.
See you next year.
Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number, on we go with the show. Joel's on the line from Culver City, California. Hello, Joel.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. Thanks for taking my call. Also a fellow ham, so 70 degrees.
7-3. And 88, right? That means hugs and kisses, I think.
That's right.
What can I do for you?
So we have a Sony Bravia that's about 15 years old. So about a 32-inch television, and we're constrained by the cabinet furniture we have.
Isn't that frustrating? I used to have a built-in TV, too, and nothing modern would fit into it. Yeah.
And now this television is in need of replacement. The screen's starting to go, and we get ghosting, and our Fire Stick doesn't work anymore, and we can't upgrade that with this TV. But what's out there that we can use that's modern technology and good screen quality?
There are smaller LCD screens available. You said 32-inch diagonal. I'm not sure what that means in terms of height and width. You'd have to actually measure that and measure the flat screen. But there are smaller flat screens available.
Yeah, because the widest we could go in this cabinet is about 34 inches.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think if you shop for, I don't know what the smallest LCD display is. Probably you could get there certainly are 32-inch smart TVs. Let me just see if there's anything less than that. 32-inch would probably fit. TCL makes a very nice, and by the way, here's the good news. They're inexpensive. TCL makes a very nice 32-inch for $128. Insignia makes one for $119. I would get the TCL. Hisense makes one for $139. I think and Vizio makes one for $169. So there are a lot of 32 inches. I don't see anything smaller than that, though.
Because I haven't seen anything at our Best Buy big box. They
don't want to sell those because they're at $128. What's the point? So you're going to have to get it from Amazon or somebody like that. But it's okay to buy online. You're not going to be disappointed by the size and picture because that's what you're used to. The picture will actually be a big step up. How far away are you from that TV?
Probably about 7 feet. We have a small living room too.
Yeah. So that's not awful. You're fairly close to it. I mean, normally if you were getting, if you didn't have that cabinet constraint, you'd probably want to get a 50-inch or 55-inch distance. This TCL is 28 inches across, so it should fit in easily. 18.9 inches high. I think it will fit in just fine. In fact, you might even be able to get a slightly larger. If you can get a 42 as the next size up, or 40, you might even be able to do that. But
I might have to get out the electric sander, but I won't.
Well, so I had the same situation in an older house, but the cabinet, the outside is the frame, but behind it had more room, so you might be able to angle it in and then kind of push it up, and with any luck, the frame would be able to not block too much of the picture. The point is, yes, Best Buy is not going to have them. You might go to a drugstore. A Target probably would have them, but Best Buy's not going to sell anything that cheap. But you can always get it on Amazon. Amazon has all of the sizes and some pretty good TVs. A TCL is a very good TV at $128. That's less than it would cost to get somebody to come out and look at the Bravia. And I think, believe it or not, the picture will actually be better. Was that a tube TV?
No, it was just the first generation of flat screen TV.
Okay.
So when we started, we had
They were very good in their day, but their day is long gone.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So it's served us well.
Yeah. I know you don't want to cut a hole in your wall, so I think that's probably going to be your best bet.
Well, it would be that or take out the cabinet and get rid of the furniture, but that's a different story.
I know. Remember, too, that now that was your TV is a widescreen, probably. Yes. Okay, good. So you'll be getting a widescreen. If it had been an old CRT, it would have been 4:3, and that might have made other problems because the opening would have been kind of the wrong aspect ratio, and so you'd have to get an even smaller screen. I feel confident that a 32 would fit in there, and you know what? Same size screen as you're used to. Just a better picture.
Well, appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
You taking my call. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It seemed like at the time, this is great, built-in TV, what a great idea. And I guess they just never anticipated that someday we would have TVs this big. They are huge now. If you went back 30 years and said, that cabinet, make that bigger because I'm going to have a 77-inch TV someday, they would have laughed at you. Say, what are you, the Jetsons? What are you? You're going to have a robot maid too? What are you, crazy? What are you, nuts? They're so big now. And the funny thing is, most people would not dream of a 32-inch TV in its day was huge. Today, tiny. Most people wouldn't even consider it. Ron's on the line from Riverside, California. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. Speaking of TCL, I have 3 TCLs, a 42 in the bedroom, 65 in one room, and a 65 in the TV room.
Aren't they great?
And they work great. The color's better. Yeah.
I gave my mom 2 of them. And the other thing, the reason I gave it to my mom is because it has Roku built in.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's half of my story, and that chapter isn't done yet because the one in the TV room, of course, went out about a month ago. The HDMI port went out. So the Geek Squad, they stood behind it, and they're putting in a new motherboard, which should be coming tomorrow.
Wow. So, good for them.
I'll tell you the rest. Yeah. No, they're good for that. The rest of my story is I put in as a temporary replacement since it's our TV room, I took my 32-inch Insignia from the backyard, and I plugged it in and set it up. And I was in the garage working today, and my wife, it's the one with the Amazon edition. And my wife says, take a look at this, and it's showing slides of our pictures from somewhere.
Aww.
And I have no,
Aww.
For better or worse.
It loves you.
It loves me. Yeah. Exactly.
So the Amazon edition, I'm not familiar with it, but obviously it's linked to your Amazon account, and you have been using Amazon Photos. You've uploaded your photos to them, right?
Well, that's the second part, the funny part. I don't believe I've ever opted into Amazon Photos. I have Google. I have Google Photos.
Oh, well, maybe. So that's what you got to figure out is it showing your Google Photos? I am not familiar with this particular thing. I would say you probably want to open your Amazon Alexa app. And I don't want to say the word out loud because I don't want to wake up a bunch of Amazon Echoes.
Remember those days?
Yeah. But and see if there's in the Amazon home settings if you've attached the TV to it. That's interesting. So it just started doing it. Does it say Google? Does it say any source of it, or just the date and location?
Just the date. The date in the corner.
That's quite a mystery. That's a very. It's an. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let me think on that one. So you didn't do anything. You didn't you didn't attach your phone to the TV or anything.
No, not at all. But now that you mentioned it, I do recall that the TV is visible because it's plugged in, of course.
Yes.
But I will, like I said, I was just heading out the door when that happened. I said, I'm going to call Leo.
That's hysterical.
And here we are.
So you've never used Amazon Photos. So that's the first thing. Make sure your wife hasn't either. You could put it on your phone. Right. If you have a Prime account, it does unlimited backup. It's not a bad solution. And if
I do have a Prime account.
Yeah.
So I better go back and see if it's grabbing it. I need to opt out of it.
Yeah, you'd have to have put it on your phone. So let me just look. This TCL Amazon Edition. Does it have Amazon Echo support, voice support?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
You press the button and you can ask questions just like Alexa.
So
he's everywhere.
She is. I know. No, it's a great idea. I would look at your Alexa app on your phone. I would bet that in there's a setting that says put the photos from your phone on the screen. You certainly will be able to control that slideshow. You might even be able to do that in the menu on the TV and say, I don't want a photo slideshow. Thank you very much.
I know exactly.
Actually, you might
do that.
I do that. I love having love having those photos. Yeah, and what you would want is a way to control where the photo, what photos you're seeing. So, on my Google devices, I'll say only pictures of my wife and me, things like that, or of the kids, that kind of things. Yeah, exactly.
Take the business pictures out, the convention pictures, and those things.
I work with somebody who said if it shows my slideshow, it's going to be all receipts. Because apparently she takes pictures of all her receipts. I think they're smart enough not to do that. I think typically what they'll do is now it could be the Roku too. By the way, you should look at what apps you've put on the Roku because there are slideshow apps on the Roku as well. In fact, that might really be where it is. It might be in the Roku settings. There is a screensaver feature in Roku.
Okay, I'll have to figure that one out because the Roku is on the dead TV that's sitting behind. 32-inch.
The TCL you're seeing this on is not a Roku-enabled TV? It's the Amazon edition.
Yeah, it is a TV. No, I'm seeing it on an Insignia.
An Insignia. Oh, I misunderstood.
Insignia. No, that's fine. Yeah, the one that's out of service is the Roku.
Got it.
TCL.
Oh, so this may, for all you know, this TV's been doing this all along. You just haven't been using it.
Yeah, I have it in the backyard where I barbecue. I'm never out there long enough to let it go to screensaver mode.
So I would check the menu. It's almost certainly going to be in the menu, and it's so this Insignia is not is it an Amazon edition?
Yes, Amazon edition.
Okay,
Insignia.
Yeah. I would guess.
32-inch.
I would guess it's going to either be in the TV settings, but if not, look in your Amazon app.
I'll do that, and then I'll call you back when I have the
That's hysterical. Yeah. All of a sudden. That could be embarrassing depending on what you've got in your slides,
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. Those aren't baby pictures.
Yeah. I better hurry up and get back home and disable the TV.
Yes, you might want to. Hey, a pleasure talking to you, Ron. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Those aren't pillows. Why, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, mysterious slideshows on your television set. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach us. You just have to use Skype or something like that and make that phone call. Shouldn't cost you anything. That's good, too, because sometimes we leave you on hold for a while. I don't mean to, but, there's a lot of calls, and I'm slow. I move slow. Right, Myra? Myra is on the line from Anaheim. Very patient. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
No problem. I am a high school teacher, and I have lots of programs that I use that are Windows-based, and my husband decided to buy a Mac Mini for me to replace my Windows machine.
Nice of him.
So he suggested that I get Parallels, but I thought I had heard that it doesn't work that well. So do you have a recommendation where I could run my Windows programs on the new Mac Mini I got?
First of all, thank you for being a teacher. I know it's, especially now, I know it's got to be hard. Are you teaching remotely?
Well, we were teaching remotely. Then we went to what's called hybrid, where I would see a group of kids 2 days a week, and then another group of kids 2 days a week, and then the rest of them were all remote.
How's that been?
Not fun.
Yeah.
It's difficult to engage both groups at the same time, and then I teach computer programming, and I only had maybe one or two kids in person.
Yeah.
The rest were all online. So it's I was probably working more with the online kids, but I did personally talk to the one or two that showed up.
I know it's hard for the kids too. We have a senior in high school, and he's been doing remote learning for some time, and so he's fairly comfortable with it. But he misses just hanging out with his buddies. And there's a lot to be said, I would guess, in programming, especially in coding, with peer teaching. You get them started, they're working on problems, but then they work with each other. How do you solve this? This is tricky. And I think they kind of lose out on some of that. On the other hand, the kids in those classes are probably geekier than most, so they at least know how to use Zoom. So did your wonderful husband get you one of the new Mac Minis, the M1-based, Apple Silicon-based Mac Minis?
Yes, he did.
Oh, boy, he's a nice guy. So I have very good news for you. There really was, the old Intel Macs ran Windows just fine. In fact, they ran it so well, Walt Mossberg, when he used to be the tech reporter at the Wall Street Journal, said it's the best Windows machine he ever used. You could actually make Windows run on them in a dual boot.
I had an old Mac that I did that on.
Use Boot Camp, but Boot Camp is gone. The M1s do not do that. Here's the good news. As you know, there are two different programs for emulation. They're not running natively because they can't, because it's not Intel. You don't want Windows on ARM either. You want to use Intel Windows on an ARM-based Mac. So there's VMware Fusion, which has been around for a long time, and Parallels has been around for even longer. Both of them have said, in fact, they said back in June when Apple announced this, oh, yeah, we're going to be on the M1 Macs. But it's taken a while. Parallels just this week released what they call a technical preview program for running Parallels Desktop 16 on M1 Macs. So it's early days yet, but if you go to the Parallels website, you can say, I want the technical preview, and then you'll have to get a special version of Windows. You can't just use the regular version. You have to go to Microsoft's and get the insider preview of Windows for use on an Apple Silicon Mac with Parallels. Holy cow. But you're a tech person, so if you were teaching philosophy, I might punt, but I think you could do this. I'll put a link. I'll tell you what we'll do. I just put a link up from the 9 to 5 Mac article that came out a couple of days ago about this.
Oh, great. Okay.
And I'll put it at the website, techguylabs.com.
Great.
This is the problem. First of all, you're going to love the M1, but you're going to love it for running Mac stuff. What do you do? Python? What language? Java? What do you teach the kids?
Java.
Java. So I don't remember if Java's been, I think the JDK has been updated. I'm not sure. But it's going to be a while, especially in developer stuff. This stuff takes a little bit longer. I'm a Lisp fan, and the Lisp I use, it doesn't work at all. Won't even run under Rosetta. The guy who's responsible for the ARM port of this version, Steelbank Common Lisp, SBCL, says, I'm not going to do it. I don't have an M1 Mac. So we all got together and pitched in and bought him one so that he would fix it so that it would run. And it's kind of on that level. A lot of the edge cases are not run by big companies, or even if they are, maybe Oracle doesn't care so much whether it runs on an M1 Mac. I don't know. So there is a little bit of the big stuff all runs. All of Apple's stuff runs beautifully. Microsoft has made its Office, made a version of its Office that runs beautifully. And when they do run, they run very, very well. And then there's a lot of software that runs in emulation under Rosetta. But stuff like the Java language, that's hard. And so, and stuff like virtual machines, that's hard. And they're not just going to run out of the box. But I think these companies are working as fast as they can. They were warned 6 months ago, but they're just now getting around to it, I guess. Yeah. Are you able to use Java on it, or do you have to do it in Windows probably?
Well, we're doing remote, so I use in the cloud compilers.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
What do you use, out of curiosity?
Well, we use Replit.
I love Replit. I was hoping you would say that. They're really nice people. repl.it.
Correct. Yes.
And what? So do you use an IDE? Are you using IntelliJ, or what do you use on Replit?
No, Replit does it all.
It has its own. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. No, because my students all have Chromebooks, so I had to go to the cloud.
Perfect. Yeah, but they've got an in-browser IDE, and they've got and they've got dozens of languages. It's a really good way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. Thank you for teaching under what must be very difficult circumstances.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it, and thank your husband, because that's a pretty nice gift. He obviously. Do you have your PC still around, or?
Oh yeah. I just need to. It's been acting up. I was just going to reinstall Windows.
Yeah.
Wipe it and reinstall it.
Yeah. It's going to be a little rocky, I think, on these new Macs to run VMware or Parallels for a while. I don't think it's going to be as easy as Pi. But the good news is you're doing it in Replit. So the browser, Safari, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, the JavaScript in Safari is lightning fast. Have you started playing with it, or is it still in the box?
It's still in the box because I just finished grades 2 days ago. I'm taking a break.
Finals. Do they get a big project at the end of the term for their grade?
Well, I teach math and computer science. My computer science kids, no. My math kids, yes. They had a big project.
All right. Well, take a break. You've earned it. And now you can play with your new Mac Mini over the break.
That was my plan.
Yeah, I think you will be very impressed. Just open Safari and browse to Replit. You'll be blown away.
Okay, I will try that right away.
Okay. Very nice to talk to you. Again, thank you, Myra. It's a huge thing you're doing. It's really important. And we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. A really challenging time, I know, for teachers right now. You're doing the most important thing in the world, I think. So the JDK, Open JDK has been updated. That's good. Yeah, I use Open JDK. But the problem, Rod Pyle suddenly appeared. Now I can hear him and everything, and he can hear me, right?
It's working today, thanks to a new MacBook Pro M1.
Oh, how do you like it?
I like it so far.
Yeah.
Little smaller screen for these old eyes, but it works.
They'll get bigger ones down the road.
Gave it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, is that a smoking jacket?
Yeah, well, sort of, yeah. It says Merry Christmas.
That's very, very cosmopolitan.
I thought I'd wear something Christmassy. And then Laura said I look like a pimp, so I thought, well, if I'm gonna look like a pimp, I ought to wear my pimp hat.
It ain't gonna work with your car, though. You got the wrong car.
Yeah, you're right. Pimps don't drive up in an Audi. Well, maybe they do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need a caddy.
Yeah, you're gonna need some extra light with that.
I can do this. It's less pimpish, more Scarlet Pimpernel, but it gets the job done. Goober.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, hi. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Can I have a bullet, Andy?
What do you?
I like it.
What do you want to talk about today?
Aliens.
Aliens. Good.
Let's
You
talk
looked
about
up this
aliens.
Israeli guy, right?
No, that different story. This is a new signal that was detected by the Breakthrough Project that looks like it may have some promise towards being something artificial from Alpha Centauri.
Wow.
Pretty exciting stuff, yeah. It's best one since the 70s, they say.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
Is it Fermi's paradox?
Story.
Whose paradox is it?
Yeah, Fermi.
Fermi's paradox.
That was a round-the-table informal conversation on cocktail napkins that said, we should be hearing from somebody here.
Why haven't we? What's the story? Or as Fermi would have said,
around that.
Che questo il storia?
Now that works with the hat.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, all right.
That works really well, yeah.
There are billions of stars similar to the sun. In fact, since he came up with this 70 years ago, we actually know that there are exoplanets out there. He didn't know at the time. Thousands.
Yeah.
So he said with high probability, some of those stars have Earth-like planets. We now know that that's accurate. Many of the planets and the stars are much older than the sun. If the Earth is typical, some may have developed intelligent life a long time ago. Given how many stars, how many systems there are, how many planets there must be, and how much older many of these are than ours, where the hell are they?
Well, and the sad news may be since societies tend to last on average between 200 and 300 years.
Yeah, maybe they just wiped themselves out.
Maybe just in the thousands, so we just don't know. But that's one of the things you look for. We'll talk about that.
Good.
Technosignatures in the atmosphere, like pollution and stuff.
Oh, good. We'll talk in a bit. That's a great subject.
I love the bells.
I don't know. I love it. Professor Laura, our musical director, is doing her best, and it is not easy to not play the traditional barking dogs, Christmas, and the stuff that you hear everywhere else. And I think you're doing a wonderful job, Professor Laura. Yeah. Coming up, Rod Pyle, our space guy. We're going to talk about aliens. This is not turning into Coast to Coast, no, but we are going to. Apparently, there's some. Well, we'll save it. Rod's coming in a bit of it. Meanwhile, let's go back to the phones in Portland, Oregon, where Barry is hanging out. Hello, Barry. Barry?
Hi.
Hey,
yes, hi.
Welcome.
Hi, what's up? How are you?
I am well.
I always listen to you on the podcast at 1.5 speed, so now that I'm listening on the phone.
I sound drunk. Tell the truth. I sound drunk. That's the only side effect. The podcasts are great because people do listen at high speed. But then I sound like this. Actually, it doesn't even make me a chipmunk. I just speak a lot faster. But so I'm trying to make it so that you sound like I'm the person that you listen to on the podcast. But then when you play it at normal speed, I sound like there's something.
Same with Windows Weekly, and the Mac Weekly, all that stuff.
Thank you for listening to our shows.
I love your stuff. Okay.
You're welcome to listen at any speed you prefer.
Thank you. So I'm calling I'm getting my wife a new phone. I already bought her a new phone. She's playing with it, the Pixel 4a.
I love it. Great.
350.
Great choice.
So
good choice.
She had the Moto G6 before, and it was slowing down a little bit, and so I got her that. She's worried about the price, $350. So I was wanting to know, is it worth the $350? And the reason why I got it was obviously for the camera. I just want to know if there's anything else out there. The only thing that I could look at in the $200 range is the Moto G Stylus. I just don't know if you know anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sympathetic, especially now. Money's tight, and that
No, I'm cool with it. She's the one who's she's not the police.
That is, in my mind, without a doubt, the best mid-range priced phone on the market today. Better than the Pixel 5, which is twice as much. Better than the Pixel 4a 5G, which has features you will never use. It's got the same camera as the Pixel 5. It's got Google's version of Android is, in my opinion, the purest, the best.
Right. That's another reason why I want it. So the Samsung is the A51, which just looks like it's comparable, but she's used to stock Android.
You don't want Samsung. You don't want Samsung.
Yeah.
Especially, and here's the number one reason. the most important thing with Android phones, just like Windows, is you want to get those monthly updates in a timely fashion.
Right.
If you get a phone from anybody but Google, there's going to be a delay. Google puts out the update because it's Android, it's their operating system. And then the manufacturer of the phone has to say, oh, all right, well, Samsung's got all these other apps, so this different user interface. Let's see if it works. They got to test it. That's a month.
Right.
Then the carrier says, all right, well, we got to test it, and that's another month. By the time you get it, you're 3 months behind.
Right.
And that's not good in the Android world any more than it's good in the Windows world. You want to have those updates as quickly as possible. Most of those updates are fixing something that's out there right now. So,
right. So the problem with the updates, when I look at it, they are slows the phone down over time. So
yes.
That's
yes.
So because I have a Nokia, it's an Android One, which you don't hear anyone talk about.
No, those are good, and Android One is good because that's Google's attempt to make a lower cost phone, because these phones are ridiculously expensive. And I
thought Android One was more for monthly updates.
No, the point of Android One is it's a less demanding operating version of Android so that it can run more easily on low-end phones.
Oh, I thought that was Android Go. Okay, could be wrong.
Well, that's Go. No, that is Go. You're right.
So Android One, I think, is that they update monthly. They get Google pushes it directly to the phone. I could be wrong.
But you're running Android One on those Nokias.
Yeah, but it's the regular Android. I mean, it's Android 10. I don't see anything. And the only time you see Android One is like on the case itself. But could be. Anyway, no one does it. I don't know why no one uses Android One. Could be because you're right.
I'm just looking now. You're right. Android Go was the low end. I may have confused the two. Yeah, I guess Android One. I guess the idea is if you have a Pixel phone, you know you're going to get these updates promptly. Right. So we're going to make a version of Android for some manufacturers to use that will try to keep it up to date more quickly. Right. And so the fact that Nokia is using that is absolutely a selling point. Motorola has one called the Motorola One. It doesn't look like a lot of manufacturers have adopted it. Xiaomi has.
I don't know why not. I would like to know why. I once sent an email to the Android show on by you guys.
All About Android with Jason Hell.
Is it All About Android?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a different one. No, maybe someone.
It's All About Android or it's Hands on Android. It says it very fast, so we probably can't tell. Hands on Android or All About Android, but both are hosted by Jason Howell. I think I'll make a guess. You know, one of the problems with Android phones is there are thousands, literally, of manufacturers, and each of them is trying to find a way to look unique and different. That's why Samsung has a different UI. They have different apps. They have their own apps. They're trying to do, they call it a value add. I call it a value detract, but they're trying to do something to distinguish their phone from a stock phone. And so if you use Android One, you've got to deliver a pure Google experience. Then what's the difference between an Android One on a Nokia and a Motorola? From the point of view of the user, they're not seeing what's inside. They're going, well, these are the same. And companies don't like that. They want to differentiate. It's the same reason Cadillac and Ford cars don't look the same. You know, they agree we got to put the steering wheel on the left and the accelerator on the right, but they don't agree on everything else because they've got to have a differentiator. I mean, it's my guess. Okay. Google was really trying to get everybody to update better. But I guess it looks like monthly security.
Great. I mean, the camera's really good.
You gave her the best possible phone out there. I think you know that.
The battery's like, is that okay? You've heard anything like battery's a little low than your average battery?
Well, it's a smaller, so it's a little bit smaller. Did you get the XL or the regular one?
No, they only come the 4A.
Doesn't have an XL.
5G.
Yeah, so that's
5G.
Yeah, that's why it's a smaller body, so the smaller battery. I think Google's done a very good job of optimizing, though. So
yeah, I find it amazing. It's still too big, still too small for my hands. But
yeah, I like it. I have a 4XL, which I really like. But you know what? That's the best. I think tell your wife, honey, it's the best phone money could buy at that price point. It's as good as $1,000 phone from a lot of manufacturers.
Right. I don't understand why people buy $1,000 phones and they update every 2 years. Buy it to $200.
The 4A Pixel 4A is very good. Do you want me to write her a note and say, honey, it's okay?
No, still keep it. The question is now if I return and get her the blue one.
Well, the blue one is pretty attractive. I don't know.
You answered my question.
Never let your wife open her Christmas present before Christmas. That's the problem right there. Coming up, do aliens exist? There apparently is some new evidence they might. Rod Pyle, our space guy, explains all next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's time to go to another dimension. Let's get intergalactic with Rod Pyle, author of Space 2.0, editor-in-chief at Ad Astra magazine, our space guy. Hi, Rod.
Hey, how are you?
I am very well. Welcome back to the show.
You're looking fine today.
I'm wearing my smoking jacket because the holidays are upon us, and it is very festive in here. There's a distinct scent of pine, and I imagine the same on your boat. Do you put a little Christmas tree up on your boat there in San Diego?
No, I put up some lights. The main smell here is seaweed and seagulls. But,
That's okay.
I have a lot of imagination, so it's okay.
So this is, you blindsided me with this one. You said you wanted to talk about aliens.
Yeah, I'm hearkening back to my coast-to-coast appearances.
Yeah. All right.
Could they be real?
Could they be real? I'll play Jim Bohannon, and you play Rod Pyle. Tell me, are there?
Well, we don't know, but we have some interesting new evidence from a paper that just came out from some results that were picked up last year. So this is a possible SETI signal, search for extraterrestrial
So we've been
intelligence.
doing this for many, many years. In fact, the Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico, which just collapsed thanks to the storms, had been used for years by the SETI at Home project. The idea was analyze radio signals from faraway sources, hoping to find something organized. Not take me to your leader, but at least some sort of evidence of civilization. They never found anything.
They didn't, although there was a signal called the WOW signal from 1977 that you probably remember that got a lot of people very excited because it was a narrow beam, it was the right frequency. At the time, we didn't really think to look for technosignatures because we weren't able to see exoplanets at that point. We still can't see them, but we can intuit them. But it never repeated, so that's the problem. And there's been a number of kind of false alarms since then, but many have been discovered to be comets or satellites, or in one case, a microwave down the hall that actually gave a false signal. And in fact, the WOW signal, which was the biggest deal before this one that I'm about to talk about, they think it came from a hydrogen cloud associated with a comet. So you have to do a lot of work to try and fish out the bad data from the good and see what you've got. But this one is part of the Breakthrough Project, which is Russian billionaire Yuri Milner put this together for $100 million in 2015 to buy long stretches of time at radio telescopes around the world. So, usually these projects are just small amounts of time that are available. He's spending enough money to buy these big chunks of time and just stare at certain regions. So they're trying eventually to canvass the million nearest stars. So this was a narrow beam transmission from last year. They say it's the most promising yet, and it repeats. And this will make more sense to you than me, but it's at 982 megahertz. The only known source would be technological, not natural. So that's exciting.
There's a lot of radio traffic out there that's caused by pulsars and other heavenly bodies that is just natural. But they're saying that frequency in particular is more likely to be, I don't want to say man-made, but made by a civilization.
Critter-made.
Critter-made.
Yeah, and it's intriguing because Proxima has two planets that we know of, one big gas giant, which wouldn't be a good candidate. This one came from Proxima b, which is a little larger than Earth, about 17%, so it's a rocky planet. And it's in the Goldilocks zone, so that's the so-called area, Goldilocks, where planets can have liquid water and possibly atmospheres conducive to life. The water is a big tie, of course. One downside is that they think that it's tidally locked, so one side probably faces the star all the time, and it has an 11-day orbit. So for a bunch of reasons, it would have weird weather patterns, and probably because Proxima is a flare star, it flares up from time to time. And so there's a lot more solar wind coming off, which would serve to scour away the atmosphere possibly. But we just don't know because we can't see these planets yet.
Wait a minute. Let me step back. You're saying that this somewhat organized radio signal at a frequency that is not a natural frequency is coming from an area that has a planet that is somewhat Earth-like. You said the Goldilocks zone.
Right.
It's the right temperature. It's neither too hot nor too cold. So it's like a Earth-like planet.
Right.
Because how far away is it?
4 light years. So it's the nearest star to ours, which on the one hand, in probability terms, makes it, some people say, well, it's very unlikely that Earth occurred in these two stars right next to each other.
No, maybe not, though,
if
because
you remember
that's the one we can hear.
Oumuamua. You remember Oumuamua, that rock that came from another star system and passed through the solar system and then took off?
I don't, but
it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It was a big story at the time. You know, it isn't beyond the realm of possibility that something got knocked out of the Alpha Centauri system and made it to Earth carrying
maybe
some form of
our ancestors, you're saying?
DNA. Well, you know, I mean, there's a lot of thought that any life on Mars might come from Earth, so it makes a certain amount of sense that something could come from Proxima Centauri. But as I said, the planet's tidally locked, so one side faces the sun all the time. So if there is life, it would have to be on that temperate zone.
It's too far away for us, though, to aim a telescope at it and see what's on the planet's surface.
Now, we can't. But once we start getting things like the Webb telescope up into space, we'll be able to start directing.
And maybe we should
observing.
Maybe now's the time to start a mission out there. 4 light years. How long would that take us to get there?
A long time, but you mentioned that. So part of the Breakthrough Project is also Breakthrough Starshot, which would, once they identify likely candidates, start sending probes out to these distant planets, very small ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very small, very high velocity, either propelled by laser beams from Earth or by very large rockets. JPL, when I was still there, was looking at a very large rocket that would sling the SLS, the Space Launch System, sling something right around the sun as close as they could go to pick up a bunch of acceleration and start heading out there. So, you know, in the order of 60, 80 years, maybe a little less, you could actually have something there. And then 4 years later, you start getting a signal back.
Because the signal travels at the speed of light, so it would come back faster than the rocket. Now, there is, in science fiction, there are a number of novels. I'm thinking of The Three-Body Problem, where the premise is, if there's alien life out there, you may not want to contact it. That's like saying, hey, come on over, guys. We're alive. You could take our stuff.
We're lunch.
We're lunch.
Yeah, and that's called active versus passive SETI, and you're right. And there's a lot of controversy about that. You know, we're excited about listening, which is passive. We're also excited about sending signals out, but you may not want to say hello because you don't know what these people are all about, and we may have things that they want, like liquid water, you know?
Or I Love Lucy.
Yeah, which you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing I say a lot in these talks is, you know, people say, well, should we be sending signals out? And it's like, hey, gang, we've been sending out signals since the Titanic SOS message.
Yeah.
And to television since I Love Lucy premiered, so you can imagine what these people think of us. You know, they've been watching Starsky and Hutch reruns for the last
Well, if they're 4 light years away, they're just getting news that President Trump was elected. So we don't know really what's going on out there.
Well, and what do they think about that?
Or what they're thinking. I think that is fascinating, but it's also a little scary. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of science fiction writing about first contact, how disruptive it would be to our civilization to find out there's other intelligent life out there.
Yeah, and there are supposedly government plans that have been put together around the world on how to do that, but there's a lot of work to do first. They still have to sift through the signals they got and look for any false positives, because quite often when they spot these things, as we were talking about during the break, as they do from time to time, these signals, they discover that it's from a defunct satellite, or in one case, the WOW signal back in the 70s, which was the first big indication we thought we had, turned out to come from a comet, we think. And in one case, even a microwave down the hall it was emitting a little too much radio noise.
Well, Rod, you're going to keep us up on all this. That's why we have you, Rod
Absolutely.
Pyle, author of a great book, Space 2.0. I had no idea. This is fascinating.
Isn't it great?
Come back and we'll talk some more next week. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Actually, won't be next week, because we'll be in reruns next week. So, because it's Christmas, it's day after Christmas. So January 3rd is your next appointment with Destiny. Aw. You enjoying doing this?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm loving it.
I thought about it for years, but it took me a while to work up the courage to call Robin and say, would you mind?
You were smart. You didn't call me direct. You went straight to Robin. That was a good move. That was the way to do it.
Well, she's such a gracious, nice lady.
I can't say no to Robin. Anything Robin asks me to do, of course I'm going to say yes. Yes, exactly. She's a jewel. So so just between us, likelihood that this is a genuine signal, that's pretty low, right?
Well, I'm not smart enough to make that determination. Pete Worden, who runs the project for Milner, says 99% chance it's not, but
wow.
They have to say that, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is what, I used to have Seth Shostak on a lot.
Yeah. Oh, isn't he a great interview?
I loved him, and I loved his enthusiasm, but he had a huge vested interest in this all being real, as does Milner. I mean, it's I don't know. I think that the distances, I think there are a lot of reasons why. I don't know. It's interesting that this is from an exoplanet. It's the region of an
that's
exoplanet,
really interesting.
right?
So what you start looking for is technosignatures, which could be
we didn't get to that
amount of light or heat.
Yeah. So could you do? Is it too far away to do spectral analysis of the atmosphere, things like that, or?
Not necessarily, but that hasn't happened yet. But again, you get these bigger telescopes, especially space telescopes, going, and then you can really start looking at these things. And if we eventually get courageous enough to set up something out there that can do gravitational lensing, then you can start actually looking for, cities and so forth, because you've got this incredible magnification. So that's the big picture.
How speculative is that? Is that doable?
They've actually done it. The Hubble was able to do some gravitational lensing.
What?
Yeah.
You
look past one star, and then you can see, or galaxy, and then you can see another one magnified.
Because it's bending. It's like a convex lens.
Thank you, Professor Einstein.
Wow. How much magnification?
A lot.
Wow.
Exactly.
A lot.
But way better than what we can do from Earth just optically.
You could see buildings. You could see man-made structures if they're big enough.
You could see possibly large cities. I don't think you could see individual structures. They're still just too far away.
But as you said, they might be on the far side because of this tidal forces.
Yeah, but because of the way the planet goes around the star, you'd probably be able to at some point spot at least heat or some kind of activity off the terminator, which is where they would probably be if there is anybody there. But the other thing you look for is pollution, because if you see pollution in the atmosphere, hey, they went through the same life cycle we did. Yeah. It could be radiation, could be smog.
Right. Although the dinosaurs farted a lot, so it could also be just dinosaurs. You don't know.
Well, were you there?
No, I've heard.
That's true.
I've just heard.
Yeah.
They eat a lot of grasses and
but they probably did.
vegetation.
Yeah, they're like cows, right?
What's amazing to me is that we only just learned that there are exoplanets at all. I mean, that's relatively recent, and now all of a sudden you can say things like, "Well, that planet is in the Goldilocks zone, and it's got tidal forces that keep it from." I'm amazed how far we've gone.
It is really incredible, and I worked, as I think I mentioned earlier, at Caltech for a year as a science writer, and I got to work with some really incredible people doing work on this, including Avi Loeb over at Harvard. And the amount of progress they've made in such a short time is just jaw-dropping. So
what do real? I'm running out of time. I can't ask you the last question. I'll talk in 2 weeks. Have a great Christmas.
Great. You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rod. Take care.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Professor Laura, our musical director for the last year, and you do such a great job. And you found the one song from the 70s that predicted that 21 would be a good year. I think they were talking about 1921, but let's just accept that it's 2021 and it is going to be a good year. I am so grateful to you, Professor Laura. Come back next year, will you? Okay. We have a show next week, but it will be kind of a best of assembled Frankenstein-like from previous episodes because it's Boxing Day and the day after. And I hate to use the word rerun. Best of is so much nicer. And then we will start the new year in style January 2nd and 3rd on the Tech Guy show. But it has been a great year. Thank you, too, to Kim Schaffer. It's been a wonderful year. She's does such a good job bringing in our calls, getting you on the air, preparing you for your appearance. Thank you, Kim. And most of all, thank you all of you for listening. It's been a very, very difficult year for all of us. I know. I hope you made it through. I hope you didn't lose any loved ones. If you did, I'm so sorry, and we're just going to have to just buckle down and make it into 21 as best we can. But I'm glad you took me along with you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. A couple more calls before we wrap things up for good here. For good, no, for the year. Not for good. Bernie in Lakewood, Colorado. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Bernie.
Hi, Leo. I have a question, but it just seems so insignificant compared to the space.
Can you believe that? It blows me away. And I am very, very skeptical about all these things. I don't believe aliens have visited us. I don't think there's some alien bodies at Area 51 or a flying saucer or anything like that. I think those UFOs are all explainable. But this one's interesting.
Yeah.
The guy who runs this project says there is almost no chance that it's not a intelligence-made signal from this planet way out in Proxima Centauri. So that's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Anyway, what can I do for you?
Well, one of your sponsors is ExpressVPN.
Yes, sir.
And I'm considering using it, but I have a three-dumb router arrangement.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. And so the question is, of the three dumb routers, the first one, or the one facing the internet, is a ubiquity router. And I'm wondering, how can you put ExpressVPN on it so that it basically would be a VPN for both the main network and also the guest and IoT network?
Yeah, there's a page at ExpressVPN. This is one of the unusual things about ExpressVPN, is that you can put it on some routers. So they have a recommended list, and I'll put the page up on the website, but it's not a Ubiquiti router, unfortunately. It's a Netgear or Linksys routers that they recommend. I don't see any Ubiquities on the list. They do mention some Asus routers, as well as the Netgear and the Linksyses. You might be able to, I don't know if you can use ExpressVPN, but you can use your Ubiquiti to get some of the security. Why is it you want to use a VPN?
Just for, I guess anonymity?
Privacy. So the number one way that your internet service provider sees what you're doing is by your DNS lookups. Every time you say, I want to go to a page, you actually contact the internet service provider and say, where is that page located? And they say, oh, yeah, it's 162.73.4.5. And they might make a note of that and say, oh, good. We now know that Bernie's going to that site. And so it's not illegal for them to do so. Some apparently sell that information to marketers. So that's the privacy part of that. But you can avoid at least that kind of invasion of privacy in one of two different ways. There is a new technology called DNS over HTTPS that, like a VPN, secures your DNS lookup. Not all the traffic. Most of your traffic is hidden inside HTTPS anyway these days, but it does hide the search, the lookup, and you can turn that on in many browsers. I don't know about Chrome. I think it's coming to Chrome, but it's available in Firefox and it's available in Safari. It's buried down deep within the settings, but I'll put a link up to what this is, DOH, or DNS over HTTPS. The other thing, and I do this with my Ubiquiti, is instead of using your internet service provider's DNS server, you can use another DNS server. And some are more privacy-focused than others. Again, this isn't going to encrypt everything coming out of your house as a VPN would, as ExpressVPN would, but it is going to block the biggest privacy leak, which is these DNS searches. I use something called NextDNS, which I really love. It's at nextdns.io. You could set it up on your Ubiquiti to be your DNS. They do other things as well. They block malicious domains. They block malicious traffic. They can give you some parental controls as well. There's a lot they can do just by controlling the DNS. So it's free unless you use it more than 300,000 requests a month, and then I think it's very inexpensive. It's a few dollars a year. It will block ads if you want. It blocks trackers. It's not as complete a privacy solution as ExpressVPN, but it's a very low-cost way to get about 90% there, and I really like it. I would take a look at nextdns.io, and I use it on my Ubiquiti UDM Pro, so I know it'll work with yours.
Great. Well, thanks a lot.
I think you're going to like it a lot. There's others. There's Quad 1s. Cloudflare has 1.1.1.1. They also have 1.1.1.2 and 3 with additional features. That's the Cloudflare DNS. There are a lot of companies that do this. My favorite, though, is nextdns.io. Somebody in the chat room saying, did you buy the AirPods Max, the AirPod Pro Max, whatever it is, that $550 headphone Apple shipped last week? No, and I'm not going to buy it. That's ridiculous. It's both. Now, this is a weird one, but it's both too expensive and too cheap. If you want high-fidelity headphones, you might spend $1,000 or more for really good ones. AirPods Pro Max, not that. If you just want to listen and have Siri and stuff, there are much less expensive alternatives. If you want noise cancellation, the Bose Quiet Comforts, $550. It's betwixt and between. Too expensive for regular headphones and too cheap for audiophile headphones. So, no, I don't recommend it. We're wrapping things up. Have a wonderful holiday. I hope you are going to stay safe. It's scary out there. Stay home with your family. Stay in your bubble. Protect yourself. Protect your loved ones. Because I want you back here in 2021. We're going to have a wonderful year. I have a feeling it's going to be a good year. And I'll be glad to take you and your tech into 2021. The future's here. Thank you, Professor Laura. Thank you, Kim Schaffer. Thanks to all of you for spending this year with me. I really appreciate it. Again, next week, it's a best of, and then we'll be back with live shows January 2nd and 3rd, and I will see you then. Happy New Year, everybody. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.